Hey everybody, it's Corey with Ascend Smarter Intervention, where we make research-based reading intervention easy. And today I wanted to show you one of our tricks that we use in order to really just up-level our literacy intervention. The challenge is that a lot of students have different areas of need, they have different skill sets, and especially if you're trying to support these students in a group where you have students who have different needs, some of them maybe are struggling more with decoding or sounding words out, and others do great with sounding words out, but they're struggling with spelling or they're struggling with application, or maybe they're struggling more with comprehension. And so one of the things that we've realized has been really, really helpful is when you can take one activity and use it in a bunch of different ways so that you can meet different needs of students, or that you can keep it fresh and exciting for your students, because sometimes it starts to feel like, you get into a drill, and especially if you're using systematic and structured literacy, which is amazing, it can start to feel like, okay, we're doing this again and we're doing this again. And so one of the best ways that you can combat that and really support student need is by mixing up just one activity. So, for example, we always do sentence level reading in each of our lessons. So we always follow the same pattern for each of our lessons, and we always get to sentence level reading and sentence level application after we've gone through introducing a new phonogram pattern. So in this case, we were practicing the phonogram AW. So AW would be the phonogram pattern that we want students to be recognizing, because this is the pattern that we were just talking about. AW says aw. We want them to see this not just in words, but also in sentences, in passages, and really start to generalize. So in this case, the first thing that we're going to have them do is see the AW pattern. This is an orthographic activity. It's going to help them just start to really pair, okay, these are the letters that I'm looking for. I see these letters in words. Then we have our students read through the sentence. Sometimes when we give sentences, we've given some sentences that have words that they haven't necessarily learned all the patterns to. So for example, picture has a stable final syllable chur, and our students might not know that. And so oftentimes what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask them before they read through the sentence out loud, go ahead and read through that sentence silently and let me know if there's any words that you're gonna need help with. I ask my students, especially because we're all doing online sessions like this right now, to give me a stamp. So for example, if they read this sentence and they were like, wow, I just don't know this word, they would stamp that word and I would go ahead and provide it for them, because it's not a word that I expect for them to know, but I do want them to have practice recognizing, or with that metacognitive skill of recognizing, I'm not familiar with that word, I can't decode it yet, I don't have all of the patterns. And sometimes your students will surprise you and they'll give you words that you really haven't talked about, but just because they know it from context, or they know it from something else that they've been reading. So then they would go ahead and they'd read it to me. The artist will draw a straw in the picture. Now, a lot of my readers are struggling readers, and so oftentimes they read this, it's very choppy. And so then I'm going to ask them to go back and I'm going to say, so who was this sentence about? And at that point, what I want them to do, or I can do it, it doesn't really matter, but I want them to say the artist. And I pull down this piece. If I'm seeing a student in person, we're highlighting it. So we're either highlighting it or we're kind of scooping under it. So the sentence about the artist. What did the artist do, or what is the artist going to do? In this case, the artist will draw. You could even just say will draw. The artist will draw. And that's a complete sentence. So that's our subject and our predicate. Then what we talk about is, well, that's a really boring sentence. The artist will draw. What will the artist draw? The artist will draw a straw in the picture. And so essentially what we're doing then is we're teaching our students that's bonus. That's called an adverbial phrase. That's bonus to the sentence. It helps us get a much better picture when we're visualizing that in our mind. The reason that we want students to be visualizing is because that's how they comprehend. So in order to really truly comprehend, we need to know who or what did what. And that's really the purpose of being able to find the subject and the predicate, is to be able to have comprehension of the sentence. all too often what I see is I see a lot of worksheets coming for our students who really struggle. So we work a lot with dyslexic students, and they really struggle, and they're trying to label, the dependent clause and the independent clause and the subject and the predicate, and they're just really struggling with all of that because you're putting a lot of letters and a lot of different things all over the place, and they're just not getting it, and they're not really getting the purpose, they're not getting the bigger picture. And so we just scrape all that away. Really, we want functional reading and writing skills. And so we're just going to scrape all that. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that we can comprehend what we're reading and that we can write something that other people understand that has all the components that we need. So in this case, we need a who or what, did what, and if we can get a why, when, how, if we can get some extra stuff in there, it's going to help us to be able to really visualize better. So that's an example right there. So we're going to go ahead and save that. We'll move on to the next one. In this case, same story. They're going to go ahead and find their pattern that we were working on, AW. If there's any patterns in there that they need help with, they're going to let me know. The lobster's claw was quite sharp. Okay, who or what are we talking about? In this case, I often get students saying the lobster. In this case, I have to show them it's actually the lobster's claw. Who or what we're talking about is the lobster's claw. What about it? It was quite sharp. It was quite sharp. Then what we could do is we could add an adverbial, because in this case, we only have a subject and a predicate. I might give my student an opportunity to give me some bonus, give me something extra so that I can picture that even better. And so they might give me something like, the lobster's claw I found at the beach was quite sharp. So in that case, we're even talking about, we can split up our subject and our predicate and can add bonus in at any point. So we're really working on syntax, structure. How can I mix this sentence up? How can I do something different with it? So the great thing is what you're doing here is you're taking a sentence reading activity. No matter what you're doing, if you're using structured literacy and you've got a sentence reading task in there, start doing this. Start just adding some new pieces in there. Okay, who or what is it about? What happened? Let's highlight it. Let's color code it. Let's get rid of all of the extra, I-O, D-O. I'm all about diagramming sentences. I can totally see the value in that. But if you've got struggling readers and writers, let's cut the fluff. Let's just get down to the basics. Give them this information and they can start working with it. What I have my students do, for example, in this next one, we could say, the teacher told the class to stop yawning. So we need that whole thing. That whole piece right here is our subject and our predicate. So then what we could do is we could add something else. So what I would tell my students is, okay, let's add a little something so that we can get an even better picture in our mind. This one only has a subject and a predicate. Let's add some bonus. And we're going to add a little bonus here. So the teacher told the class to stop yawning when? We could maybe say during math class, right? So all of a sudden we can start showing students how they can expand this. Then we can talk about, okay, this is going to be part of that sentence. We don't want that to be capitalized. And if we're going to stick this on to the end, we need to get rid of that period and add the period here. So there we're talking about mechanics, we're talking about grammar, we're pulling all the things together with one simple sentence activity. This is obviously how you could do it online if you're stuck teaching online right now, or if you're with your students and they have sentences, they can just be writing these things out. So there's lots of different ways that you can do this. Anyway, hopefully that helps. Just quick intervention tips so that you can take simple activity and just really take it to the next level so you can meet multiple needs for your students. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments. We're so excited to hear from you.